A prominent financial analysis channel on YouTube has been permanently removed from the platform, taking with it years of documented research, primary source materials, and thousands of hours of published content. Surprised. The channel's operator confirmed the removal in what appears to be a final video posted to a secondary account, stating that no prior warning was issued, no content strike was applied, and no functional appeal process was made available before the channel was wiped entirely. The channel had built its audience around financial data analysis, drawing on publicly available government filings, federal settlement documents, and commodity market reports. Size. According to the channel operator, the content focused on directing viewers toward primary sources, including filings from federal regulatory agencies, court case records, and publicly published market data, rather than offering opinion-based financial commentary. The operator stated clearly that the channel's removal does not alter any of the underlying data that was previously presented. Public regulatory bodies continue to publish their reports on scheduled timelines. Federal settlement records remain accessible through public court systems. Market data from registered exchanges continues to be released according to standard reporting cycles. None of that information, the operator emphasized, is dependent on the existence of any single YouTube channel. In response to the removal, the channel operator has directed its audience toward an independently operated newsletter platform, describing it as the primary vehicle going forward for all continued analysis and data breakdowns. The newsletter, hosted on the Beehive platform, is described as free to subscribe to, with no membership fees or paid tiers involved. To understand the full scope of what was lost in this removal, it is important to examine the nature of the content the channel had been producing. The operator described a body of work built entirely around publicly verifiable financial and economic data, with every data point, every reference document, and every source citation made freely available to viewers at no cost. No courses were sold, no trading signals were offered, no paid memberships were operated at any point during the channel's existence. The operator was explicit on this point, stating that the sole purpose of the work was to make financial information accessible to anyone willing to take the time to verify it independently. The topics covered by the channel spanned several interconnected areas of macroeconomic and commodity market analysis. These included in-depth examinations of the housing market, specifically breakdowns related to institutional investor activity in residential real estate. The operator referenced data indicating that institutional investors currently hold ownership of approximately 21% of homes in the city of Jacksonville, and that housing inventory remains structurally lower by 17.8% relative to 2019 levels. The channel also covered commodity markets in considerable detail, with a focus on silver and gold pricing structures. The operator referenced data from COMEX, a registered commodities exchange, noting that registered silver inventory levels have been on a declining trajectory, and that delivery pressure within that market carries significant analytical implications. The operator also cited the importance of the weekly price close for gold above the $5,000 level as a structural market development extending beyond surface-level headline reporting. Additionally, the channel had documented a 2020 federal legal settlement involving JPMorgan, valued at $920 million. The operator cited the specific criminal case number 1:CR19CR00000438, emphasizing that criminal conviction records of this nature remain permanently accessible through public court systems, entirely independent of any content platform. With the YouTube channel now permanently removed, the operator has been direct and detailed about what the transition to a newsletter format will mean for the audience that had gathered around this body of work. The newsletter, accessible through the address og.beehive.com, has been described as having already been operating quietly in the background prior to this development. It will now serve as the central and primary platform through which all future analysis and data breakdowns will be published and distributed. The operator outlined several structural advantages of the newsletter format over a video platform when it comes to this specific type of financial data analysis. Chief among those advantages, according to the operator, is the absence of an algorithmic distribution system. On a platform such as YouTube, algorithmic decisions influence which content reaches which audiences, and monetization pressures can shape the boundaries of what topics receive distribution. A direct-to-inbox newsletter, by contrast, is delivered without an intermediary making decisions about reach, visibility, or topic suitability. The operator stated plainly that this structure removes what was described as suppression pressure, allowing the analysis to be presented in full, sourced, and without the constraints that platform dependency creates. The operator also addressed the broader philosophical point underlying this transition, one that had apparently been a recurring theme throughout the channel's history. The argument presented was that building an audience or an information resource on a platform that is not owned by the creator introduces a fundamental vulnerability. When a channel can be removed overnight without warning and without a functional appeals process, the operator argued, that vulnerability becomes impossible to ignore. The newsletter format, in the operator's view, directly addresses that vulnerability by placing the subscription relationship between the creator and the reader without a third-party platform holding the ability to sever that connection. The operator also took care to acknowledge two distinct segments of the audience. For those who had followed the channel from its earliest days, participating actively in COMEX, independently verifying data from primary sources such as CFTC commitments of traders reports, CME open interest data, and SHFE enforcement disclosures, the operator emphasized that the community built around this work does not reside on any platform. It exists, in the operator's words, in the minds of people who chose to think differently about financial information. For those who had only recently discovered the channel and found themselves confused by its sudden disappearance, the operator framed the event itself as a direct illustration of the core argument the channel had always made: that no single source should be trusted unconditionally, and that owning one's own access to verified information is the only durable protection against platform dependency. As this situation develops, the operator has been careful to draw a firm and clear distinction between the removal of the channel itself and the continued existence of the underlying data that the channel had been built around. That distinction, emphasized repeatedly throughout the operator's final video statement, forms the foundation of the closing message delivered to the audience. The data, the operator stated, does not pause for platform decisions. It continues to be published, updated, and made publicly available through the same government and regulatory bodies that have always been its source. To that point, the operator enumerated several specific data conditions that remain active and unchanged at the time of this report. Silver continues to trade at a premium in Shanghai. COMEX registered inventory levels continue to decline. The Federal Reserve continues to navigate what the operator described as a stagflationary economic backdrop, with core personal consumption expenditures inflation holding at 3%, and gross domestic product growth printing at 1.4%. The housing market remains structurally undersupplied by 17.8% relative to inventory levels recorded in 2019. Institutional investors continue to hold ownership of approximately 21% of residential homes in Jacksonville, and the national debt continues to accumulate without interruption. None of these conditions, the operator stated, were affected in any way by the removal of the YouTube channel. The operator also reinforced the data verification framework that had been central to the channel's approach throughout its existence. COMEX continues to publish its vault reports on a daily basis. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission continues to release its commitments of traders' data every Friday. The Bureau of Economic Analysis continues to publish gross domestic product and personal consumption expenditures figures on its standard schedule. The National Association of Realtors continues to report home sales data on a monthly basis. The operator's consistent instruction to viewers had always been to verify information at its original source, and that instruction remains unchanged going forward. In terms of immediate next steps, the operator issued a direct and specific call to action for the remaining audience. Viewers were asked to visit the video description, access the newsletter subscription link, and subscribe at no cost. They were further asked to share both the video and the newsletter link directly with former viewers of the main channel, the majority of whom, the operator noted, are likely unaware that the channel has been removed and will find nothing when they go looking for it. The newsletter address ogbehiv.com was repeated and emphasized as the sole destination for all continuing work. The operator closed the statement without drama and without sentiment, beyond a measured acknowledgement of the audience members who had contributed sources, verified data independently, and engaged with the material in the spirit it was intended. The work, the operator confirmed, continues. The analysis continues. The format changes. The address changes. The data does not. That concludes our coverage of this developing story in independent financial media. We will continue to monitor this situation and bring you any further updates as they become available. For now, this has been your news update. Stay informed, stay verified, and we will see you in the next report.